and welcome to Live to Be Well with Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin and
I am Micha ML6 Logan. Welcome.
welcome. How you doing, my daughter?
I'm well. How are you?
I am so blessed. We are wearing our pink and celebrating continuously Breast Cancer Month, which is every day of our lives. I just want to send a shout out to all our survivors and also to two of my dear friends who passed away this week. And we want to send a shout out to the Latham family and the Yates family. And we're just asking that you continue to lift them up in prayer, but they fought a good fight in breast cancer. So we just want to let you know we are here. We've got a great program today, Micha.
We
How are
do.
things out in LA? How are things out there?
It's good. Everything's going well.
Yes, yes. Oh, I can't wait to see you. Looking forward to seeing my daughters. The holidays are upon us very soon. Well, let's talk about our question for tonight. Why is it that individuals do not want to go to the doctor? Before we get into some of our responses, Micha, why don't you tell me what you think? Why don't people, hey, Brother Thomas Maycott, God bless you. Why do you think people do not want to go to the doctor?
I think a lot of people don't want to go to the doctor because of fear of finding out that something's wrong. I
Mm-hmm.
think people would rather not know than know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like putting that seal on things. So a lot of it just has to do with fear. People would rather not know than know, because once you know, then you have to be held accountable to the information that you've now found out. And then people start to feel like, well, if it's something really bad, then it's like almost as if I'm counting the days down to possible death, when it's not even that. Like, you live the best life that you can no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But going to the doctor, and I'm really adamant about this, like, we can't be out here trying to get the bag and making all this money and trying to do all these things, and then you're not healthy. Like, health is literally wealth. If you're not healthy, if you're not in a good state of mind, and I'm talking being healthy, mind, body, and soul. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not in a healthy place, you are not going to be in a position to make the money and do the things that you want to do and live a full, complete life.
Mm-hmm.
So again, a lot of the times people don't want to go to the doctor because they don't want to be held accountable for the information that they receive.
Excellent. I really appreciate that. And that's something we are a stickler on in this family. I don't know about anybody else, but we are very adamant about keeping our doctor's appointment. Today, Mike, I got some information for my upcoming colonoscopy. And I was like, oh, I got to take this medicine. I got to get this medicine. I got to drink this. I even have to get up at 3 a.m. to drink something. And they said, that's right, 3 a.m. But you
Mm-hmm.
know what? I'm going to do it and I'm going to keep my appointment the next day because we need to know what is going on within mommy's body
Yeah.
and also not be afraid to share that information with my children. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to look at what's important and why we need to do this because, I go back to what my daughter says. I have one parent left. You must take care of yourself. And again, I'm exercising. People are noticing I've lost a lot of weight. I've been exercising and I've been, doing raw and smoothies, but I'm really looking at taking good care of myself. So let's talk to some of the responses. Can we go to some of the responses
Oh,
that
for sure.
we
Mm-hmm.
received on over 65 responses to this question. So we want to thank all of you that responded, and you can keep responding because we really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you. So we want to talk about why do people avoid going to the doctor's office? All right. Melanie Germany of California stated, right now, the pandemic. That's a pretty important issue, is it not, Micah? They're afraid of going out the pandemic. You want to speak on that comment?
Yes and no. I think that people, and I'm not saying that is the young lady that gave that response. That could really be her true feelings, but I do also believe that people use the pandemic and things of that nature as an excuse to not go, because a lot of doctors' offices are require mask. A lot of doctors' office will require even the vaccine. before you go. But more than anything, I know that all doctors' offices, they have adjusted their offices to meet the need of where we are in the pandemic to still see patients. So again, I'm not saying I don't want this young woman to think that I'm coming for her at all, because I'm not. I'm just saying that, granted, that is an excuse. But these people, a lot of people who weren't going to the doctor before, now they're just using it as an easy excuse. Don't play with me.
Don't even go there, because they weren't going before.
Right.
Dr. Ross Shields stated Tuskegee experiment. Okay. Vern Sanders' fear of the unknown of healing bad results. Cheryl Fowler, blood pressure. Cynthia, fear of the unknown. Cousin Sherry White, fear. Patricia, some don't really want to hear what's wrong and don't want to know. So true. Lady T, the truth of not taking care of themselves will be revealed. D. Thompson, some don't believe in doctors. Sharon Greenwade, fear. Peggy Trusty, money. Now, Micha, that's really important.
No, that is. We have one of the worst healthcare systems in the world, in the United States. Unfortunately, it's bad. And a lot of people don't have health insurance. And a lot of people don't even know or aren't aware of possible ways where they can get it that's affordable. And it's unfortunate because people will stress about how they're going to pay for it, and it will prevent them. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people will stress about how they're going to pay for it, and that amount will scare them into not taking care of their health. Well, what happened? What was going on with her? Well, she didn't want to go to the doctor because she didn't want to leave her family with those medical bills.
Okay. And this is so true. So, Francesca Nolan, Indianapolis, they may know what's wrong and are fearing the medical bills again.
Yep.
Fear from Kim Client, Myra Franklin, Keisha Swan, fear, out of sight, out of mind. So if I don't have to deal with it, I just ignore it. Michael Jones said availability, making themselves accessible. Going back to what you said, you've got to make the time to do it. I've got to take off 2 days of work to go and have my colonoscopy, but I've got to make myself and be available. I went to the doctor not too long ago, Mike. I had to wait 2 hours, 2.5 hours to be seen by the doctor, but I did not leave because I knew how important it was and how important it is. I want to go back and I want to read Sherry Neal's. I want to read someone's comment, and we can find Sherry Neal's, Brother Rogers, because she made a very good point about something. All right. Let's see here. All right. Let's go back up a little bit. Go back up. Jacqueline Johnson, past mistreatment of them who love them. Ennis Woods, fear of the unexpected, especially among those who are older or those that have a family history of certain illnesses. That's true. Come on down, Walter Parrish. Sherry Neal made a comment about doctors. Cherise is out of their way. They have to take off work. If they do work, it's a long wait most times. See if we can find Sherry Neal before we go to our guest, or we'll come back and find hers. So, Micha, we see fear, availability, the aspect that these illnesses have been in our family, and now it's been passed on to us. Okay, Sherry Neal. Trust issues, in my opinion, being a doctor is big business. You think about it, there are no sick people, there would be no need of a doctor. They spend thousands and thousands of dollars for their degrees, when the idea that once they get their degree, they would get a job making a lot of money for their services. You also have to realize that they have a lot of student loans to repay. It's a service. They need bodies to make money. I also truly feel that the way, because growing up in the time I did, people were not busy going to the doctors constantly for these so-called wellness checks like now. There were never commercials on TV like now for medicine. It's advertising to get you to go. For some people, they are very effective to get people to go to inquire about this medication if they have this ailment. And people can only get these prescribed meds from their doctor. That's why I love, thank you, Dr. Kim. She's not one of them doctors. She's a natural, no meds. I also believe our bodies are temples of God that gave us natural instinct to know when we are just like not feeling well to when it's time to see a doctor. Because think about it, it's doctors don't us like we know ourselves. They don't know us like we know ourselves. They only know what we tell them or lab test reveals to them. But for me, I'm trusting God to let me know when and if I need a doctor. So Sherry's saying right there, I'm not going for a mammogram. I'm not going for any checkups. I'm not going. I'm just not going. And so that's a choice that we each have and we can make. So
God bless you.
God bless you. And in my position, I try to encourage everyone that I counsel, Micha, to go and please have your mammogram and your prostate and get everything done that you need, your colonoscopy. Go and see your OBGYN. Go to your doctors. This is why God gave us this education. So come on, let's see. Shirley Croft, some don't trust doctors, believe more in home remedies than medical professions. Right, professionals. Well, this takes us to our guest that we have with us. We have a very special guest. She has been a dear friend of mine for over 45 years, and she's a master's of public health. She can be seen on 3ABN cooking up amazing vegan recipes. But when my daughter was going through things with breast cancer in Huntsville, Alabama, Donna Goodman was there for me, and she was her interim mom and auntie. So we want to welcome Donna to our broadcast tonight. God bless you, Donna, and welcome to Live to Be Well. How you doing, my sister? You good?
Doing good, doing real good. I'm listening to the comments that you were just making in the previous segment about people going to the doctor. And I thought earlier this year, I did a virtual celebration for my 25th year from breast cancer. Wow. And one of the guests that was on there, Dr. D. Knight, who is a mental health professional, was making some comments. And I thought about this as you were saying this. One of the comments kind of leaned towards it with the Tuskegee experiment. But a lot of folk, Black folk, don't like going to the doctor because of racism and the way that they're treated when they're there. And there's a lot of heavy data to support inequity in healthcare when it comes to African Americans or people of color. And it's not, it's across the board. It doesn't matter if you're lower income, middle income, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And so a lot of people rely on what their neighbors say, what their friends' doctor said, what Big Mama said, rather than subject themselves to what's going to happen when they go into a medical facility. And it's unfortunate, but it's a fact as well as what was mentioned. And I think sometimes if you can identify through these same conversations with people that you know and love, health professionals that they trust, that makes all the difference in the world.
Because we know that they tend to lower our dosage on medicine. They tend to, they don't put the care in us because let them tell it, you know, our bone structure is stronger and we're able to deal with pain more. So we don't necessarily need a higher dosage of medicine based off of our race. They don't give us, I mean, we've seen it even with childbirth, with Black women in childbirth, and how, you know, Black women, like, it's a fear for Black women when they give birth now, because we understand, like, they're not paying attention to our needs. And so a lot of people are preferring African-American doctor. Like, if I'm gonna go to the doctor, I need it to be an African-American doctor. I don't need it to be anybody else. If I'm having a baby, I need it to be, I need some Black people in there with me to make sure that everything is where, because there is a level of fear incorporate on top of the fear, on top of the fear, on top of the fear. You see what I'm saying? It's like this layered cake of fear, right, for us for going to the doctor. So again, I totally understand why people don't go. But in our cases, all three of our cases, I can't imagine if we did not go to, you know, get our mammograms or go to the doctor and hear, you know, the things that were wrong with us. You're celebrating 25 years. Mommy is celebrating 4 years. I'm celebrating 8 years. And we are literally visual proof of we have to handle our business and go, not negating natural remedies to also help us through whatever our cocktails or whatever the procedures that were given to us. So Donna, I really want you to share your story and your journey. And also in this, it's twofold. I want you to talk about the differences that you have seen from when you were going at the beginning of your process up until currently. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's interesting that we were talking about access to care and healthcare providers. I lived in Georgia, and I lived in rural Georgia for a good part of the beginning of my career, and so the mistreatment and racism that you felt when you went into some of these offices, and I had to live in counties where my job was, so I moved several times, and these were rural counties, so you had to access what was there. Fortunately, when we lived in Athens, Georgia, we found a white male physician who was around my age at the time. So we were late 30s, early 40s. And he wasn't a hippie, but he was more a progressive kind of guy. And I was so thankful because the doctor before him, I had some problems, and he says, well, we'll just have to give you a hysterectomy. I had just got married, and they're like, I have some other patients who were like this, and we just took out their uterus. And I'm like, y'all not about to do that to me.
No.
So I found this other doctor. He was taking care of me and just watching things. He delivered our son, and I kept going back to him. And this particular day, I was there for my annual, and had looked at a lump for a number of years that had grown back in the place where I had one before. And he decided, you know what, it hasn't been a problem, but let's just do a mammogram. Because the other thing, Micha, is that I'm not sure what the baseline is now that they do mammograms, but I was under the baseline age back in 96.
It's still the same.
Okay, so a lot of folk can't get it because they're not going to, insurance won't pay for it. The doctor doesn't need to unless you have history and stuff. So I went ahead, got the mammogram. We were not worried at all. He wasn't worried. I wasn't worried. But what he did ask me was, when's the last time I've been on vacation? And we could not remember. So he wrote a prescription for us to take a vacation and told us to go to Cancun. So we went. And when we came back, there was a call that I needed to come back and get another test done. We weren't worried. Went on another vacation. And then when I came back the next time, he says, okay, I need you to see a specialist because we've seen some calcifications. And I went to this specialist, another white male, who said, we can watch it for a while, or you can go ahead and have the surgery. And I didn't want to start a relationship with someone out of town. So I came back to Atlanta, and I found a Black female surgeon who scheduled me right away. And as soon as she opened me up, she knew it was cancer, but she asked my husband not to tell me because she didn't want me to worry in the interim. So she made me believe that they were just waiting on test results to come back.
Wow.
So I'm waiting on the test results. Hadn't heard anything. My husband's preparing for Peachtree Road Race. Family's in town. And I'm like, let me give them a call to see what's going on. And my girlfriend was sitting with me, and the doctor announces that indeed you do have cancer. We need you to come back, do the axillary dissection, and, happy 4th of July. So I go to tell my husband, and he's like, yeah, I knew. I'm like, what do you mean you knew? He said, he told me. And he had carried this for like 2 or 3 weeks and had never said a word to me. So then we go for the next surgery. They take out 17 lymph nodes. There's cancer in 6 of 17 of the lymph nodes, staging me for stage 3. Yeah. And in 96, that was bad. So bad that they wanted me to do chemotherapy, a stem cell transplant, more chemotherapy, radiation, and then get on tamoxifen for 5 years. It was not good. So, you're working professionally. You check with your professional friends. So I'm calling my friends who are physicians and getting second opinions. I'm in Atlanta at Emory. I'm looking for stuff, talking to oncologists and radiation oncologists, and just trying to see what else could be done that wasn't so toxic for me. And nobody connected that to anything. They understood it. It might help your blood pressure, but it's not going to help this. So I took a step back and decided I needed to go in my closet and pray. And I think that's another thing with African Americans and medical care. There is an age group of them who just believes whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm just going to trust God with it.
Yep.
Which can be fatalistic. And then there's another group of us who are like, I need to go to God to find out what doctor I'm supposed to see, what treatment I'm supposed to take, and all the other stuff. That's what I did. And I decided that I was going to go to this lifestyle center and build up my immune system and then come back and do the treatment. And while I was at the Lifestyle Center, I was convicted. My background is public health. I had worked at Morehouse School of Medicine, teaching people how not to get cancer, was working for the Office of Nutrition, teaching counties around the state how to do wellness. So I was familiar with the impact of lifestyle and disease, specifically lifestyle and cancer. And when I got to this center, I was reaffirmed in my profession and as a now breast cancer patient of the impact of diet, lifestyle, meaning exercise, like you're telling your mama she needs to exercise, the impact of sleep on the body, the impact of hydrotherapy on the
Donna,
body.
I'm gonna stop you for just a second because I really want you to repeat what you said, because people love to say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And I feel like if you don't sleep, you will die.
You will die. You will die. And so sometimes people look at stuff, and when you're diagnosed with breast cancer or cancer of any kind for that matter, you're looking for things to help you on the journey. And so some people have included what we call complementary medicine or integrative medicine or alternative medicine. And what we've discovered in the last 25 years is that there is validity to those things.
Yes.
And to find a healthcare provider, there's a lady, Dr. Christy Funk out of California, who is a breast cancer surgeon. And she has connected lifestyle to risk and recovery. And so some people think that you should do one or the other. Well, you can't find out you have breast cancer without going to the doctor. You can't have it removed on its own. They have to take it out. You have to be sewn up. You need medication for pain. So there's a specific place for that. Yeah. And then if you decide whatever treatment that you're going to do, then you do the treatment. But your breast is attached to a whole entire body that has other symptoms going on. And we're discovering now that if you don't get enough sleep, literally, you are at risk of having more aggressive tumors. And you need
to
say
it again, Donna. Say it again.
If you don't get enough sleep, and we're talking midnight, before midnight, between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock is the best time to sleep.
Right.
6 hours of sleep. And because many of our breast cancers are hormone dependent, our hormones are monitored at night when we're sleeping.
Yep.
And so if you're not getting that good sleep, your hormones can be all over the place. And they're not just affecting breast cancer, they're affecting the entire body.
The entire body.
It's not willy-nilly. You need to take your tail to bed. Okay.
So good.
Exercise is not willy-nilly. Literally, when you're exercising, you're losing your weight. You are dropping down the estrogen levels in your system if you're estrogen positive. You're increasing circulation so that good blood goes to where it needs to go. If you are stressed, and that's the thing, I was following a woman on Instagram today. I read it this morning. And she was in an abusive marriage where her now ex-husband threatened her with the gun as she is going through breast cancer. And that was the day she decided to leave. And every woman I have met over the last 25 years has had some level of stress going on in their bodies or in their lives, be it as simple as their job or in an abusive relationship. And so when this cortisol is coursing through your body like it is, your body cannot respond. No. And so it takes a hit. And so making sure that you're managing your stress is important. Of course, outside in the fresh air and sunlight, increase the circulation. And we've discovered that every cell on the body has a spot for vitamin D. And vitamin D is very vital in preventing and reversing disease. And so you need to get your sunshine. And we're talking responsible sunshine. And they often say that if you're Black, you have to stay out longer because of all this amazing melanin. But what I like to say is if you're Black, you get to stay out longer because of all this amazing melanin. And that shifts the tone to I can't be out here to I can be out here now because this is helping my health. And that literally reduces cells, cancer cells, it shrinks tumors, all that amazing stuff. And it builds body's immunity. And so many women have comorbidities, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, multiple sclerosis, all that sort of stuff. And it's all benefited by that. And then the big one is diet. When I listen to Christy Funk and I read her book, Breasts, the Owner's Manual, she literally did the science study. And the phytochemicals that the body needs to cut off cancer are only found in plant foods. And when you're eating a bunch of animal products, a lot of processed food, a lot of sugar, all of those things contribute to angiogenesis, which is the development of these cancer cells. And it's important for you to understand. And I was talking to another woman the other day who was diagnosed with stage 4. Stage 4. It was everywhere except her bones, everywhere. And she decided on the treatment she needed. She could not tell her job because she was afraid she would lose it. So she shaved her head and got a wig that looked like her hair, and she just muddled through all of her treatment. And she decided that she was also going to do lifestyle factors because you want to keep your body as healthy as it can be. And there's a difference between health and medicine. And she wanted to be healthy. And so she's made some different choices to be able to do that. So when you are eating foods that are high in phytochemicals, and phytochemicals are substances that are found in only plant foods, and under the microscope, she was saying today on her presentation, and I already knew it, they took the skin of apples, Micha, and they squeezed the skin of apples in a petri dish to the cancer cells, and the cancer cells died. They just died. They took broccoli, squeezed it. They did garlic and squeezed it. And so they've discovered that besides vitamins and minerals and protein and carbs and all that, literally there are phytochemicals, and they are chemicals. They are literal chemicals that are in the plant foods to protect them and to protect you when you eat them. And when they're released into the body, they go through the system, healing you and turning off bad stuff and turning on good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And so it's really important. So one of the things that I have noticed that has changed over the last 25 years is that more and more women who find themselves in this situation are looking at other things that they can do to help them through the journey.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem that you're just a patient getting the treatment from the doctor. You have some things that you can do yourself. One of the things that I like to recommend to people is the use of hydrotherapy, getting down inside a nice hot bath. And most of us who've had breast cancer and had radiation, when you're done with that radiation and you can scrape all that stuff off and you can finally get back down in the water, being down in that water literally improves circulation, increases the white blood cell count, which helps you. It helps you sleep better. It's going to make you feel better. And we tend not, especially Black women, to practice self-care. And this is an opportunity to do that. So I do it. I put the bath salts in. I have the eucalyptus in the bathroom, playing in the candles, and it really does something to our psyches. And when you're going through something as challenging as breast cancer, you need a place where you can go to practice self-care. And that's what we've done. I'm noticing that women are connecting more. And I don't know if you've seen anything this month on Instagram about pink washing. There's a lot of women who are concerned about during the month of October with this pink that we're raising money for stuff, but the money really isn't going to make a difference where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are like, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to direct the funds to where we need to conversations like this and resources for women.
Right.
And engaging with women who for whatever reason can't come to the doctor or are afraid to the doctor
or can't go grocery shopping because there's the Kim Fields organization in Huntsville. Her daughter passed away from breast cancer, so that's her thing. And what they do is they raise money for women who are going through breast cancer who can't do simple things like fill their refrigerators, put gas in their cars. If there's a doctor bill, if there's a copay that they don't necessarily have the money for, they fund the copay for them to go to the doctors. And organizations like that, because that's really where, can you imagine going through breast cancer, right? And then having to worry about how you're going to feed your family, how you're going to feed your kids, because you can't go to work because you're so sick. And
that's the other part of it.
You can't go to work because you're so sick. You can't be, and then you're worrying about that. So what does that do? That creates another level of stress. And I remember the first thing that my doctor asked me when I sat down with him, he said to me, how much stress is in your life? Whatever's in your life that's stressful, starting today, you have to get rid of it. And I was like, well, that's a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'd already gotten out of a situation with the guy and a lot of kids. That was the biggest thing. But then I had to start going through. I had to like go through a list of things that was creating stress in my life. And I'm talking about before anything, any type of treatment. He said, I need you to eliminate whatever stress is in your life. And I'm so glad that you touched on having doctor treatment, but also having other things, whatever natural remedies. And I was saying this last week. I was saying how my grandmother took me to the health food store. And I mean, we wrapped up in there, and she got this stuff called Greens and More. And the lady was like, if you take this every single day, I promise you will cut that tumor in half, and this and the third. And I just remember it tasting like straight dirt, but I took it.
Yes.
And it literally, when I went in for my, like halfway through my chemo treatment, they were like, yeah, your tumor has gone down in size. And I was like, man, that little lady was right. Like,
and what it is those were the phytochemicals that are in the food.
Yeah.
And all your greens, whether it's collards, kale, broccoli, all of those literally have something in them called sulforaphane, who goes through and just cuts off the blood supply. And to know that you at least had a physician who was concerned about your stress, if there were parallel to your medical care organizations or people groups that could help you focus on the other things to support the treatment that you decide to take, it would be a win-win situation.
It would be a win-win situation. And it, you know, even with the greens, I hate greens, but during that time, I would have friends come in and they would literally make pots of greens for me. And you gonna sit here and you gonna eat my grandmother, you gonna eat these greens. And I would be like, what? But again, just having, I was so grateful to have people in my life of all age groups, especially once they got out there, that was able to pinpoint certain foods and fruits and vegetables and things that I needed to have on a regular basis to help me through. I'm talking about my grandmother came through and she cleaned all my cupboards out. She said, we getting rid of all this processed food, and I was like, but grandma, like, I mean, I said for 9 months, I didn't have a bag of chips because all of that stuff that I was used to just grabbing and going and eating and things of that nature. Now, granted, there were certain times where all I could, like, I just need to stop by a gas station. I just need to get these Lay's chips just to get me through the day. Those times, understandable. But for the most part, I went 9 months with just, what was that store before it turned into, they took it out, Earth Fair. I was stopping at Earth Fair. They would juice, because, you know, they were telling me that red fruits were really good. Red fruits and vegetables were really good for it. So I didn't like beets, but my grandma said, put them beets in that smoothie. But all of those things, along with me going to treatment and getting chemo and all of those things, I think collectively was a part of my journey of healing. I strongly believe it.
The thing with chemotherapy, radiation, their job is to kill everything. And it does a good job of killing it. But what it doesn't do is rebuild the body system or protect the body system. So wherever you are on the journey, you and your physician decide the treatment that you're going to take, but you have to make choices for health. You have to make choices for health.
And he was very adamant about that. He was like, because here's the thing. He says, when you go outside, people are more dangerous to you than you are to them. He said, because you're wide open. He said, you don't have anything to protect you from anything. He's like, so you have to make sure that you're covering yourself. As I'm doing my part, he would tell me, you got to do your part. He would tell my grandmother, he would tell whoever was coming with me to the doctor, she has to do her part at home. And that is making sure that she's protected. Because, of course, they give you the white blood cell, the shot. That's what they gave me, the white blood cell shot to help it. But I had to do my part with my eating, with my drinking and things of that nature. So, listen, this has been good to me just to hear you and just to kind of hear how even back then they weren't, not back then because you're not that old, but 25 years ago.
25 years ago.
But still, the fact that it's still under 30, that they are, it's like they haven't progressed yet. It's like it hasn't registered that young women get breast cancer, and especially young Black women. And the thing about it is, Black women die from it. We die from it more than white women.
Mm-hmm. We
For
don't,
whatever reason, and I'm sure they can do, I'm sure there's so much research as to why, but it's the fact that they still have yet to register and acknowledge. And that is my problem. It angers me that American Cancer Society, medical people, they have not, insurance agencies have not registered that, hey, we need to lower this number for women to get mammograms. And I'm like, you would rather us suffer, you would rather us go through all of these things for whatever financial gain or whatever, instead of lowering the age. Unless, and of course, if you have it in your family, they do the gene, then they have to have the proof of it. And I'm like, it wasn't in my gene test. And I'm very, it wasn't in my gene test. Like, I didn't have any problems having the mammogram. And I think it was because I was sent from my OBGYN to have the test. But other women don't have that same luxury. And it's unfortunate.
And it's not just for breast cancer. It's across the board for chronic diseases as they impact people of color.
Yep.
We are not the primary group that they're interested in. And we said that earlier because of the inequity in care. And so if indeed they identified sooner, then we'd have treatment and lifestyle improvement sooner, and we probably would have better outcomes. Well, then that would shift the system.
That would shift the system.
Not really what they're interested in. They're not really trying to heal Black and brown people. That's not what they're about. And perhaps that's some of the reluctance of some certain groups within our community of trusting the system. But all the things that I decided to do, lifestyle, that you're doing, that Kim did, also impact everything else. They impact diabetes, prostate cancer, multiple sclerosis, all of it, all of the diseases. And to me, that puts the power back in my hands. You know,
for sure.
So I'm going to the doctor to find out what's going on. Then I'm going to make some healthier choices. Because when I started making the choices that I did, it was for breast cancer. But my periods went from 10 days to 2. I lost 10 pounds in 10 days. All my migraines went away. I was having trouble with digestive issues. I was having tremors, all of that. Right.
Yeah.
And so because I'm a health educator, I interact with people who have the power of choice, and I can't force them to do anything. And so when I get to a person and it's like, they're not going to do that. I was talking to one today. That ain't what she want to do. So find out what alternatives you can offer them.
Right.
So they are still in charge of some of their health outcomes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I want to switch gears because I want to incorporate, and this is something that I really wanted to talk to with you and my mom about. When I was diagnosed, I didn't realize how many women in the church have also gone through it. I'm talking about women that were my teachers, sang in the choir with, directed the choir, and like all of a sudden, it's like people reaching out to me like, "Yes, sweetie, da 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 da," and I'm like, "Why you didn't say nothing? Why you just out here keeping it a secret and not saying anything?" So I'm asking you all, as you all have been in the church longer than I have, because you all are older than me, and also being the fact that you guys are both breast cancer survivors, what have you seen is the reason maybe that it's not really shared amongst the women in the church, the struggle with breast cancer, let's say specifically because it's October and we're here. But what do you feel, each of you feel, and we can start with you, Mom, as to why they don't share this story to help other women? What is the reason that you feel?
As a mental health professional, one of the aspects that I see in the church is trust. The trust and being able to assimilate your story with my story is not important. And therefore, I will just keep it private. We've become such a private community within the church, so that when someone is going through something, we don't want to share our story. And the Bible even says, share your testimonies to help others. I remember when I told Daddy to go public on 3BN regarding what he experienced in Vietnam and going through drug addiction. And people were like, what? He's sharing his story on national Christian television. Yeah, we received so many emails from people who had been literally in the closet, didn't want to talk about the pain, didn't want to talk about the embarrassment, and how this is the big thing. I would be treated differently. When Daddy was going through his illness way before, someone had put out, Donna, that my husband had AIDS because they saw us on the AIDS ward in hospital. That's the only area they had available to put him in at the time. It got back to church. My husband had to literally stand up in church and say, I do not have AIDS or HIV. I do have an illness, but it's not that. You can still hug me, touch me, whatever. Then my husband realized we must address this in family life. So it's trust, the fact that, my story cannot impact anyone else. The other aspect is I will be treated so differently once it's exposed. And when I found out certain women in the church who were going through this, and we had no classes, we had no support groups, we had no type of information on the outside tables, nothing out there. This is Breast Cancer Month. And when I go to church Saturday, I guarantee you there will be not one pamphlet on breast cancer. There will be nothing discussed from the pulpit on breast cancer. Unless I call the first elder and say, this is Breast Cancer Month. Can we talk about it? Can we have a segment about it? And so therefore we feel isolated. We feel separated. We feel second-class citizens to it. Now, don't forget, men, if you had a mother, an aunt, a sister, or a grandmother who had breast cancer, you too can also become an individual who has breast cancer. So these are some of the things that I see. And when I go into church, people don't want to talk about substance abuse. You don't hear them talking about anything. And I don't know what goes on in the men's group, but in the women's group, we don't talk about it. And it's time for us to break these barriers down and stop being ashamed, embarrassed, or inferior to what is going on. But when I go to other churches now, denominations, breast cancer awareness. Is it just my church that the information is not getting out? We're not talking about it. We don't have support groups. So Dr. Kim did what? Donna, Micha, I had to start Live to Be Well. I had to start a support group for grief. I had to start my own support group for breast cancer, my own support group for, when I went to Micha's breast cancer walk, we went down to Huntsville, Donna. We were all in it and everything, not knowing 5 years later, 6 years later, I would be having my own walk and dealing with these issues. So we make sure I have a team that works with me, getting information out, phone calls go out, a lot of support. But people in the church, no matter what the denomination, I can't tell it because I will be treated differently. I will be looked upon, ostracized, and I don't want to go through that. So I'll just keep it to myself. What do you think, Donna?
I agree with everything you're saying, and I think shame is very attached to it. And then in our cultural belief system, sex is attached to it, and wholeness. And if I have to have a mastectomy or get treatment and lose my hair, I'm ashamed of it. So rather than talking about it and getting support, because if you're going through it, someone else is. I remember when I was diagnosed in 96, I was shaken to my core as both of you were. But I remembered growing up here in Huntsville and going to the church I went to, there were 3 women that I knew personally who had been diagnosed. And for whatever reason, I don't think they made a big announcement from the front, but people knew it. And so I was not as afraid to talk about it and to share it. And then as I watched what they did, I was encouraged for my journey. And like you said, Kim, the Bible talks about people overcome by the word of the testimony. But then this goes back into, I know in my mother's age group, and I guess your mom would be around the same age, Kim, they didn't talk about this kind of stuff. It was hush hush. And sometimes a person's spouse didn't even know what was going on because of all the stigma that was associated with it. And you're not going to talk to anybody who's in their 70s and 80s and convince them of anything different. but to literally be willing to share. And we have each made ourselves emissaries about
Right.
so that you can touch somebody and turn the table. And again, like I said a few minutes ago, when you come up on somebody who's not real comfortable talking about it, walk with them in that. Because I'm saying enough for a whole lot of people.
Right.
And then find another person who has the voice, talk about that. And then I think sometimes they're afraid to talk about it because they don't really understand it. And they think talking about it could be passed on to their kids. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, but fear makes you do that sort of stuff. And until you're able to, and as I have watched Breast Cancer Awareness Month this month, there's just so much more openness about it. And I think because of social media.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they're showing scars. And
I'm talking about everything.
My husband was beating me and I had to leave. And I've lost so and such and it's freeing to them. And for women who are ashamed or afraid, they don't know what's on the other side of talking about it. And so to hold their hand and walk with them through it, I think empowers them. And until they do that connection, they won't.
For sure.
Right. I think that when I have individuals who come into my office who have gone through this or going through this, and they and I think, Al, we need to put that on there. It's on my website as a survivor. Dr. Kim is a survivor of breast cancer, just bold on my website, right there on the first page. People are coming in now and saying, you understand, you've gone through this, and I'm able to walk with them. I said, do you need me to go with you to an appointment? Do you need me to go with you, for the surgery, the procedure? I had my husband's cousin D, because Mike and Aaron were away. She went, she took notes for me, everything, because I was just in,
frazzled.
I was frazzled. And she was taking notes on everything. She went with this to the surgeon with me, to the trauma, the tumor board, everything, and then going through that and being able to share that with someone else and talk about it. There were 3 women in my church that I knew of who had it, and I never knew they had it until after I went through it. And then I posted my whole story after I ringing that bell, Donna and Micha. I posted my entire story because Mike and I made a decision just to tell my siblings, not even tell Erin at the time because she was coming out of Oakwood Academy, but to just go through the process. And Arthur's cousins knew, Dee and Don, but when I posted the entire story, testimony, everything, people were like, what? People were shocked because I had no shame in my praise, okay? I remember when Micha was a little girl, she says, why would I serve a loser and I know who the winner is? There's no shame in my praise. So I'm going to share everything I have. I wear pink everywhere I go. I don't care where I am. I want people to know that I am a survivor and that I'm dealing with this every day. So yes, I must exercise. And Donna, I want to go back to diet for a minute. And we had a question. A woman asked, can you name that product again that you mentioned? It started, I think, with an S.
Sulforaphane?
Yes, she
wanted. Okay, sulforaphane is not a product. It is, and then if you're a person of faith, I think that's what really helped me. The Creator God made these foods and put these things in the foods.
It's in that sulforaphane is in your fruits and vegetables. It's
right there. And so you can afford to go to a Whole Foods and buy the supplements, then you can do that. But if all you can afford to do is go to Kroger and buy a package of greens for $2 and cook those and eat them, you're going to get the sulforaphane. So they're called phytochemicals. Sulforaphane is one of them. Allicin is one that's found in garlic. Lycopene is the one that's really popular that's found in your red foods like watermelon and tomatoes and strawberries. Genistein is found in soy. There are just so many different scientific names for these things. And a lot of times when a person has a medical condition and they're on medicine, the doctor will give them 3 or 4 different kinds of meds because they supposedly work together to affect whatever your situation is.
That good old cocktail.
Yes, a cocktail. And I look at our food the same way. So traditionally in our community, we're going to have collard greens and some beans and some rice and some sweet potatoes and some cornbread. That's going to
That
be
was my grandmother. That was what
That
she
was
fed
it.
me. I tell you, my grandmother fed that to me like nobody's
okay.
business. And it's one of those meals like, and I know how to make it now myself if I choose to, but that was really, she brought that over to me, and I ate so much of that when I was going through chemo. If she was bringing me them sweet, listen, and it didn't have a lot of stuff on it. She made me go a little cinnamon and then eat it.
And every single one of those foods, every single one of them have been proven to be full of phytochemical power to fight disease. And the interesting thing is, when they're released in the body, whether you have cancer or diabetes or hypertension or MS, it goes to whatever the problem is.
Yes.
And it morphs that out. And so a gracious God did that. It's been there since the Garden of Eden, but scientists are just discovering it. And when I was diagnosed 25 years ago, there was no big talk of it. But now you can Google phytochemicals and breast cancer, phytochemicals and diabetes, and it's all there. It's all right there.
I say this
chlorophane is a phytochemical.
I say this all the time, and this is something that I felt even as the world now is just understanding being vegan and vegetarian. I say the church dropped the ball. I say that the church allowed only keeping it at, Sabbath dinners and Sunday dinners or whatever, whatever denomination had it. But I do believe, especially amongst an Adventist church, they've been preaching a health message forever. And for whatever reason, they just didn't want to, I feel like, and I'm just younger, but I just feel like the ball was dropped in terms of ministry and evangelism for the world. Now the world has it, and it is a billion-dollar industry. A billion-dollar industry being vegan. I mean, it's everywhere. Out here in Cali, any restaurant you go to, I'm good. I'm gonna always have a vegan vegetarian meal. There's just most restaurants are completely pick of the litter. I just strongly believe in my heart of hearts, the church dropped the ball.
They did. And I think what we did internally was condemn people about chicken. That's where everything ended up. And it's so much bigger
than a wing, a chicken wing.
and it's all about these body temples that God created, that he wants us to keep healthy, but also what Kim said, and as you are benefiting from it, then you can share it with other people. So now people are paying all these other people, billions of dollars to get the same information that we've had, and it's solid science. I don't think we believe that it was science. That we didn't think that. We thought it was nilly-nilly,
We just thought it was in a book, something being taught in school. We didn't think that it was
central
science.
to who we are.
Yeah.
We are. It's something when I go to Sabbath dinner, my friends are from, where's Brother Martin from, Aaron, Micha?
Antigua.
Let me tell you, they have the plantains, they have the sweet potatoes, they have these potatoes, these green potatoes. And I'm like, what is this? They said, just eat it. You know what? Every Sabbath, I've been eating everything that they have prepared for me. And I have been so feeling, and I do bring some home. They make certain things for me to bring home to eat during the week, and they said, eat this, put it on your salad, do this, Kim, and it's amazing. And it's just bland. There's no taste, no flavor, but it's full of all of these, protein, vitamins, everything. So I want to go back to our responses. We want to thank everyone for your comments. Okay, Al, bring me up my response. Is there a way that is best to cook those foods?
Oh, Donna, that's all you. Go ahead.
Well, I one of my challenges in my profession has been cultural relevance. And I remember 30 years ago, I was working in a WIC clinic, and there would be people who would show up who were allergic to dairy products or their religion, Islam, Muslim. They didn't eat certain things, and the WIC clinic didn't know what to do with them. So we have been taught for years that the best way to do it is to steam it so that you don't lose the nutrients or whatever. you have water-soluble nutrients and fat-soluble nutrients. The water-soluble nutrients like B and C, when your food starts to cook, they're lost into the water and in the steam. So you're going to lose some of that. The other fat-soluble ones, A, D, E, and K, it literally is cooked from the food into the fat that's in the food. I don't worry so much with folk, and you may differ with me, because culturally, when Michael was saying how your grandma would bring you that food, we take cornbread and we sop our food with it.
Mm-hmm.
We take rolls and we sop it. And I don't know if this happened when you were growing up, Kim, but my mom would take the pot liquor and pour it in a cup. And it was passed around the table, and you had to, don't make a face, you have to drink it. So a lot of times culture informs your cooking method.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to cook the greens or the beans and you're going to drink the pot liquor, I was doing a demonstration with some white folk one time, and I talked about pot liquor, and she didn't know what I was talking about. So all of that is right there in it. Now you can use less water, of course. You can use less fat, of course. If you're going to do raw like you've been doing, then you can steam it. You can bake it or broil it. It doesn't matter to me so much. Just that it's done, it's not overdone, and it's seasoned well. And if you're doing a variety of those cooking things, it will make a big difference. And then culturally, we cook in ironware, and iron skillets release the iron from the pot into the food. And then when we eat the food, our body absorbs the iron from that. So eating those beans and rice and greens and cabbage and cornbread and sweet potatoes that are cooked in those skillets, there is so much more that we have done culturally that we don't give ourselves credit for.
Mercy.
That is healing for us. And if we follow those things, don't pour the juice down the sink. And if you're prone to do that, then steam your stuff so that you don't lose it and you get more of it in it. But if you're going to do your pot liquor, I'm not worried about it.
Right. What about air fryer? Micha came home to visit me. Let me tell you,
it's the best thing since sliced bread.
I don't have a microwave anymore. So Micha came home and she says, "Mommy, why is the air fryer still in the box?"
You hadn't used it?
About a year. They was sitting in the kitchen in the box for about a year because And so she says, "Mommy, take it out of the box." I said, "Well, what do you do?" And so she said, "Mommy, just steam your vegetables for a few minutes. Let me tell you, okay." Sometimes I put my apples in there. I put, I just do everything. And I just, for a little bit, and it's still crunchy and good, bring it on out. Because I have not cut my oven on since June 14th.
It's a really, really good appliance to have.
Yeah.
The premise of it is called convection cooking, where there's a fan in there so that the heat is even around the food.
Yeah.
And if you have a convection oven in your home, it's the same concept.
Wow.
But this is definitely something that, because it's countertop, you can just pop something in there and it's without a problem. That and the Instant Pot. If you have both of those.
Oh yeah, the Instant Pot is good. You good to go.
Oh, Micha, that's a good Christmas present. I don't have an Instant Pot.
Okay.
Instant Pot, when you're talking about the best way to cook, is pressurized cooking, so you don't lose a whole lot of anything in there. There's not a bunch of steam escape.
But wait, yesterday I was watching on I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook videos. This man put a steak into a coffee pot. He put the soup and the Lipton soup in the top. He put some spaghetti, raw spaghetti. He put the asparagus, carrots, and all that, and it cooked the vegetables. It cooked the steak in a coffee maker.
Yeah, okay. The heat element on the bottom is what did it.
Yes, he said the heat element cooked that steak. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so
you watched that on TikTok. That's where you saw that.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know, but it was switched over. But Michael, you can give me a coffee maker. I can put everything in there too. Okay,
no.
Amen.
Listen, this is where we are right now. We have to wrap up. But Donna, will you come back?
Yeah.
Yes, I
think we have to have a part 2. We have to get into helping people find recipes and just talking more in depthly about just everything that we talked about. We have to have a part 2. So I'm going to let you and my mom work that out of when you can come back, because this information right here is golden and it's so informative. And we just want to make sure that we don't stop it here. Live to be well is something where we feel like if the conversation is worth continuing, we are definitely going to continue it. So it's good to know. You heard her, ladies and gentlemen. She will be back. Donna, go ahead and tell people how they can find you and follow you on social media and things of that nature.
Okay, we have a healthcare clinic here in Huntsville, Alabama, Lifestyle Therapeutics. And if you go to our website, Lifestyle Therapeutics, THERAPEUTIX.com, there's a lot of information there. I am also on Instagram and Twitter at Still Shoutin, STILLSHOUTIN. And every Wednesday morning at 8:30 Central Time, I do a Wellness Wednesday conversation food demonstration on Instagram Live. And there's a bunch of videos that I've already done. Tomorrow, actually, I will be doing talking about orange is the new pink and the benefit of eating orange foods like squash and sweet potatoes and carrots and all that. And I'm going to demonstrate a couple recipes for that.
Awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm excited. We will continue this conversation. This is what we need. We need the conversation to open up the eyes that people have had closed for so long. And we are so grateful for the wisdom that's gone forth. I want to say thank you to all those who made comments. We will respond to them. So many amazing, the dialogue with your comments and being able to come together. So I want to thank, Donna Green-Goodman. You are just my girl, my go-to girl. I love you so much. And, Micha ML6, thank you. And to all of you, thank you for being with us on Live to Be Well. And if I had to say one word, thank you so much, Nicola. If I had to say one word, I want you each to give me a word. This information, thank you, Dr. Juanita Martin, who I eat at your house every Saturday. Tell Uncle Wendell, I'm eating more of those green potatoes. I'm eating that, cook me some plantains and make sure I get those sweet potatoes. If I want red beans and rice, I need some cornbread. I'm telling you, she lays it out for me. And I thank God because I would just eat. I'm eating salad, but I do.
Thank God for the Sabbath.
But I do know that I don't. I eat no real desserts or anything. I haven't had any desserts in years. I mean,
I don't care about that. I just need you to eat regularly throughout the week.
Okay. Sounds good. That sounds good. I'm gonna do that. I did eat today, Donna. I did eat something.
The fact that you can just say that it's not okay. Like. Anyways, we'll talk about that later.
Won't touch oatmeal patties. I do eat your oatmeal patties, Dr. Martin.
Listen, them oatmeal patties are jumping. I remember
they are so good. You know what? You have some on Saturday. I already went and got the rice.
Make me some extra so I can take them home for the week. That's what you need to say.
Make some, and she always gives me this goodie box. Yes. It can't be so heavy. It's like bricks in there.
Everybody know you don't be eating for real. Stop playing with me.
So Dr. Juanita Martin and Wendell Martin, thank you so much for making sure that I'm over here not passing out during the week. Amen. But we had one word to say about this broadcast today. What would you say, Donna, today?
One word. Hope.
Hope. Micha.
Hope.
Informative.
I would say purpose.
Yeah.
To have purpose for your life. You are not alone. You are not alone. And we are here for you. Donna Green-Goodman, Micha Logan, and I, we are here for you. We are survivors. Mm-hmm. And in 25 years, Donna Green-Goodman, Micha Logan, 8 years, and I am a 3-year survivor. So I know God is good. Listen, we are out. Have a blessed evening. Come on, Donna. Say, I'm Donna Green-Goodman. Come on, Donna.
I'm Donna Green-Goodman, and make sure that you keep out the lookout so that you can come back when we're all together again.
We'll be together more often than you think. And I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin.
And I'm Micha ML6 Logan.
And remember, you're not living well unless you live
to be well.
Listen, God bless you. Good night. Good night.
Bye, everybody.